At the end of the Clone Wars, Anakin was sent to Mustafar where he deactivated the entire Separatist droid army, and with it put an end to any hope of Separatist victory for the true believers of the cause. But not all of the battle droids of the Confederacy obeyed the shutdown order, and many Separatist leaders still believed in what they were fighting for. Surprisingly, some droids were able to resist the shutdown order, some were too far from the source to receive it, and others simply malfunctioned. So, let's find out why the Separatist holdouts will feature in Star Wars The Bad Batch. Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed for more Bad Batch content all the way up to the release on May the 4th and throughout the series. Immediately after Anakin slaughtered the leadership of the Separatists on Mustafar and delivered the shutdown order to the majority of the droid army, Palpatine very quickly dissolved all of the Confederacy's major commercial organizations like the Commerce Guild, the Trade Federation, and the Retail Caucus. After doing this backstabbing of all of the Confederacy's major backers, Palpatine immediately forced the surrender of almost all remaining Separatist planets and forts to the Empire, basically putting an end to the Separatist movement. Of course, this wasn't the end of the Confederacy, however, as Palpatine couldn't eliminate every single one of its leaders and those with strong planetary defense forces, which were primarily made up of human or alien soldiers rather than droids. Now this is our first potential tie-in to the Bad Batch series. In the second trailer for the show, we see Clone Force 99 going head-to-head with a group of B-1 battle droids on an unknown snowy planet. This could simply be a flashback to before Order 66 was executed, or it could even be right at the beginning of the show, when the squad is still fighting in the final days of the Clone Wars. More likely, however, is that these battle droids are some of the Separatist holdouts who managed to either disobey the shutdown order from Mustafar, or avoided it in some other way, like being too far from it, or just having something go wrong with their circuits. The months immediately following the Empire's takeover of the galaxy were marked with crippling military occupations of several major Separatist planets like Kuriva, Mercana, and even the capital, Raxus Secundus, which was subjugated and treated very harshly because of its treason against the Republic, which of course was now the Empire. This is where our second tie-in to the Bad Batch series takes place. In the Bad Batch trailer 2, we see Clone Force 99 in their shuttle, approaching Raxus, most likely having been sent there by the Empire to help in the occupation of the planet. Because Raxus was the capital of the Confederacy and the heart of separatism in the galaxy, it's almost certain that there will be loyal supporters and true believers of the Confederacy still on the planet, something that Palpatine will absolutely not tolerate. If this scene takes place when the Bad Batch are still loyal to the Empire, then it may be a major turning point when they arrive and are forced to commit atrocities on the planet. This may even be the catalyst for their doubt in the Empire and ultimately lead them to defecting later down the line. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. After raiding the main Separatist planets and ruling over them with an iron fist, the Empire oversaw a campaign of mass arrests, executions, and brutal massacres on the planet Antar 4, primarily because they were a separatist world for almost the entire war. The locals and the government of Antar 4 were extremely loyal to the Republic during the Separatist crisis before the war began, but unfortunately they were captured by Count Dooku and his forces shortly after the First Battle of Geonosis, turning them into a separatist haven. Either way, this event soon became known as the Antar Atrocity, and once word of it reached Coruscant, the citizens were completely outraged, actually causing some pretty big political problems for Palpatine. Interestingly, this atrocity was carried out and led by none other than Wilhuff Tarkin himself, who is looking likely to feature heavily in the Bad Batch series, so there is another potential tie-in with the show. So when you're watching the show on Disney+, make sure you listen carefully for the planet Antar 4, because it may very well be an important location where we will see just how horribly the Empire treated former separatist worlds because of their treason and wish to form their own galactic government. Despite receiving harsh criticism for the Empire's actions on Antar 4, Palpatine and Tarkin continued to use the fact that separatist holdouts still existed as an excuse for invading many Outer Rim planets. Eventually, the Imperial Navy, still with many clone troopers serving in it, began to mount incursions onto planets and sectors of the galaxy where the separatist holdouts were known to be located, mostly in the Western Reaches. This campaign in the Western Reaches of the galaxy became a bit of a whack-a-mole situation for the Empire, as every time they would harshly occupy and subjugate a planet, it would spark the creation of rebel groups in the surrounding planets. Not only that, but many of the populations of these former separatist worlds were very unhappy with how little the Empire was doing to reconstruct their worlds and begin the recovery process from the ravaging Clone Wars. These rebel groups, made up of separatist holdouts, were then used as an even bigger excuse for Tarkin to invade even more planets, but this time with Lieutenant Commander Orson Krennic even going after legally protected worlds like ecological reserves and sacred sites, mostly to gather resources for an upcoming project known as Project Stardust. For those of you who don't remember from Rogue One, Project Stardust was the Imperial codename for the construction of the Death Star, which took place over Geonosis. But that is yet another tie-in to the Bad Batch, as we'll very likely be seeing the early stages of the Death Star's construction and all of the numerous delays and screw-ups which plagued the project, and eventually allowed Tarkin to swindle Krennic out of it. Around this time, there was also a major rebellion which took place on Umbara by the local population, who remain loyal to the Separatist cause, which is yet another tie-in to the Clone Wars series. Because the Galactic Republic transitioned directly into the Empire, the Umbarans saw absolutely no difference in their enemy, and simply never stopped fighting for freedom on their homeworld. This forced the Empire to slam the hammer down on Umbara extremely hard, attempting to pacify the resistance there because it posed a major threat to Palpatine and his control of the galaxy, mainly because of the exotic technologies which existed there. In the Catalyst Rogue One novel, Orson Krennic explains the Umbara Rebellion and the Separatist holdouts with the following quote. Lyra, Galen's wife, says, "Now that the war is winding down," but is quickly cut off by Krennic, who says, "Winding down? It's not over. Pockets of resistance remain, especially on Umbara. Our forces are engaging in several, shall we say, pacification exercises to bring about a lasting peace." As you can probably tell by now, the Separatist holdouts are a major component of the time period directly after the fall of the Republic in canon. In addition, Krennic also says the following about the holdouts. They want the Empire to collapse the same way some hoped the Republic would, only this time our enemies aren't rebelling in protest of Senate representation, trade routes or taxes. They're intent on sowing chaos, on bringing everything down. They have no agenda, political, religious or any other, beyond a desire to end civilization as we know it. You can see just how deeply rooted the hate for the Separatists is within Imperial ranks, because again the Separatists were seen as disgusting traitors to the Republic, which is now the Empire. And those in Imperial ranks were probably the most loyal to the Republic and Palpatine himself. I'll definitely be doing a full video on how Rogue One, the Death Star construction and Jyn Erso tie into the Bad Batch in the next few days, because there is a lot, especially with Saw Gerrera making a confirmed appearance in the show. And finally, we know that some of the Separatist holdouts made it all the way to the Galactic Civil War period, with the tactical droid General Kalani and his horde of B-1 battle droids surviving on the world of Agamar. General Kalani of course has a huge connection to Onderon and Saw Gerrera, which are both appearing in the Bad Batch. I'm going to do a full video on why we'll probably see their escape from Onderon to Agamar, and how the Siege of Onderon took a turn for the worse. This is also where the Fulcrum program was created by Ahsoka Tano, as she worked with Saw Gerrera, so expect a video on that too. So that is how the Separatist holdouts are going to feature majorly in the Star Wars The Bad Batch show, and probably give Clone Force 99 some big reasons to reconsider their place in the war, just like Ezra did to Kalani and Captain Rex. Tell me down below which of the battle droids I've covered from the comics you'd love to see appear in Star Wars The Bad Batch. There are quite a few battle droids who broke free from their programming, so I'd love to see at least one of them come into the show. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe for more daily Bad Batch content all the way up to the release date in the next few weeks. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.